Throughout our history, in moments of great crisis and adversity, America comes together. It's when we're our best and most unified. I'm Jessica Kramer for MRC-TV. In generations past, we put our careers and educational dreams on hold to serve when our country needed us. In the world wars, Americans served as soldiers, healthcare personnel, and took jobs in factories, making weapons and supplies for our allied forces. Our grandparents survived the Great Depression, and most of us survived the aftermath of 9/11. In the midst of the coronavirus, with public health concerns and economic uncertainty, is it even possible to believe that any good could come from this pandemic? I submit to you, yes. For one, this global threat and national epidemic has the opportunity to force the United States to become independent, especially from communist China. In fact, this could possibly lead to a resurgence in the American manufacturing industry, which would be desperately needed after all this is over. A foe of America and the West for decades, China controls 80% of our pharmaceutical drugs and antibiotics, and with their deep-seated hatred for us, have threatened to cut off their life-saving medical supply. Numerous public individuals, including Tucker Carlson, Senator Marco Rubio.
This is the first administration in a quarter century that's been willing to confront China, and frankly has had to take dramatic steps because it's taken so long to do anything that the challenge before us is dramatic.
And former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley have publicly stood against China, citing this crisis as motivation to change US trade policy and become less reliant on one of our greatest enemies. But beyond the possibility of getting out from under China for self-preservation and protection, could there be any social benefits from this virus? Well, for starters, the porn industry is closing its door at least through the end of March. Less people are partaking in hookups, and there's a speculated baby boom. For families that are able to work from home or take paid family leave, will have increased time spent with their children without distractions available on ESPN. The American family needs this time. Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Perhaps the world could change through this virus. Who knows? Maybe observing fellow Americans panic buy and seeing empty store shelves will wake us up to the reality of what socialism could look like here.
We are hungry. We have needs. We have no food. Look at this line.
Maybe the next Isaac Newton will develop a new theory. Newton discovered his law of universal gravitation during a quarantine at the time of the bubonic plague. With many churches and most dioceses closing public masses and services, maybe going to church again will feel more like a privilege and less like an obligation. Or visiting grandma more of a gift and less like a chore. And maybe millennials, dubbed the loneliest generation, will start to use technology during this time as it was intended, to harbor connection, not be used for distraction. And when this is over, be intentional about forming real and authentic in-person relationships. At least that's the hope. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to MRC-TV videos. I'll see you again soon.